So here we are back with Witch from Mercury's Vanadis Heart. Today we're checking out the second chapter, and I'm excited to continue this manga. The first chapter gave us a good setup for our characters and world, which is going to be great to explore since we didn't get a whole lot of life on Earth from the anime, even if the story does take place 16 years before the main one. And without further ado, let's begin. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. The chapter begins with our duo being pursued by mobile suits from their stunt in the last chapter. They're referred to as terrorists with an unknown mobile suit, and I'm curious if this group even knows they're dealing with a Gundam, witches and all that. Kiyu is handling them pretty easily, mainly aiming for the head to disable the mobile suits. Vilda is adamant about not killing anyone, so Kiyu does his best. Now, on page 6, Kiyu asks if it's better to move around as much as possible because of his heart. All Vilda says is that it doesn't mean he should fight, and that they should avoid combat as much as possible. I'm guessing Kiyu, and I mentioned this in the last chapter, has some Gund tech in him, which complements his piloting somehow. I'm sure all this will be addressed shortly. Hearts, as evident by the title even, will be a big theme in this manga, so I can't wait to see where that goes. Anyway, Vilda says they can't keep fleeing forever, and that they need to gather intel. She gets interrupted by some of their pursuers shooting at her, but she tases them, knocking them out. She tells Kiyu to get them out of the sun and into some shade so they don't dry up. Next, we see Kiyu doing some chores, giving the Gundam Jew a checkup, getting ready to do laundry, make lunch, pretty normal stuff. He notes how much Vilda has bought at the station, and they even got vegetables, making him think about what to cook with it. He then notices another stuffed animal she bought. She tells him to give it a name and a role, and goes on to explain it's for his emotional education. Drawing, playing with toy robots, and stuffed animals all nurture his imagination. She also goes a bit into the Gund tech, saying that it bridges the gap between their own perceptions and the perception of objects that normally don't share the recognition, and is done through permit. Gun theory differing from cybernetic technology, being a theory of consciousness synchronization. Basically some further explanation on what we already know about Gund and its research. She asks Kiyu if he was listening to her explanation. He says he was, probably, and then she tells him to give the stuffed animals names. But Kiyu, being a boy of dreams and hot-bloodedness, would rather play with robot toys, as they're much cooler. Well said, Kiyu, well said. We then get a flashback to Ad Stella year 96, 10 years prior to our current story. This is also 5 years prior to the Vanadis Incident, which makes this the earliest date we've seen in the series thus far. We see a much younger Vilda in a lecture about permit. She tells the lecturer he shouldn't propagate wrong theories to students, and while the field of permit is rapidly advancing, imposing stereotypes is harmful and to discard any antiquated theories about it. This pisses him off and he kicks her out. We then learn from student commentary that she's somewhat of a prodigy, a genius. Rumors spread about her even having an AI-enhanced brain, though she messes up making instant ramen sometimes. She also seems to be going through life rather quickly. As she makes her way through the halls, she runs into Dr. Cardo. They sit down for a chat, and Cardo brings up Vilda's younger brother, who attracted microfistula from an incident. Vilda says there isn't an effective treatment for it, however she mentions Cardo's proposed gun method could make it possible to cure. Cardo says in theory yes, however it'll require conviction and an exceptional mind, and asks if Vilda has those. Vilda then gives her determination and asks to join in the research. We then learn that her younger brother is the only family she has left, as they lost both of their parents. With her brother hospitalized, she joined the Vanadis Institute to help in the research of gun technology so she can save him. Unfortunately, 3 years later, her brother passed away. Cardo gave her regards, however, she showed Vilda that she also has the same condition as her brother. Cardo said gun medical treatment is technology for the future, and her proposed theory, if completed, can save herself and many others. She then asked if Vilda will continue her research. Vilda decided to continue, as that path is the only one that she could take, but the future Dr. Cardo was talking about never came, as the Vanadis Incident happened. Cutting back to present day, Kiyu wakes Vilda up, showing her basically a selfie he took with the Gundam Jew using one of them cat filters. Vilda lectures him about turning off the Jew's safety, but Kiyu says him and Jew are one and the same, so he doesn't need it. He then asks if they're going to stop somewhere, since they're running out of food again. She says they should get there by the afternoon, and that they got work to do that day. Kiyu says work is fun too, as long as he's with Vilda, everything is fun. Vilda thinks for a minute, and tells him about something an old professor, who I'm guessing is Dr. Cardo, but I could be wrong, told her about a storytelling session for kids, that all of those 4-year-olds matched their age, but their daily experiences and receptivity outshined her own sensitivity. Kiyu is confused as to what she means, but she explains that the experiences people have in their childhood are more important than the many years that follow, that they'll shape a person's character, perspective, and way of life. She then says if Kiyu is having fun and is fulfilled, then she's relieved. Kiyu knows that the adults around him don't like to talk about them, and says he wants to grow up fast. Vilda thinks on this, saying she wants to protect his smile, and to never give up on lifting their curse. And with that, Chapter 2 comes to an end. A solid chapter, giving us a better look at Kiyu and Vilda's relationship, as well as Vilda's past and a lot about the medical part of Gund. Given Vilda as a survivor of the Vanadis Incident, and being for the most part a medical researcher, it makes sense that she really doesn't want to kill anyone. Kiyu so far has had no issues in combat, which may largely be due to the Gund tech, and I'm interested in seeing what's been done to him exactly. Kiyu mentioned his heart, but Vilda didn't go into that at all, so I can't wait to see how his heart comes into play with him piloting the Gundam Jew. This chapter was very comedic and the combat was light, so getting a real difficult fight down the road is gonna hit pretty hard. Vilda's flashback was interesting, especially seeing Dr. Cardo a few years before the incident. Cardo, being the head researcher for the Gun Tech, had major influence on Vilda as well as Elnora. I'm glad this manga is exploring the medical side of Gund, as we didn't get a whole lot of that in the anime. While Vilda said they never reached that ideal future of Gund due to the Vanadis incident, we know 16 years in the future. That is looking much brighter with Mio continuing the research with Gundam Inc. And speaking of the future, I wonder if Vilda and Kiyu will technically still be around during the events of the anime. I'm looking forward to seeing things that tie in with the anime. I know this is just a side story and doesn't have to have a ton of connections with the anime, but still, I like that kind of stuff. All in all, a good chapter that delved into Vilda's past, giving us more insight on her motivations. Let me know what you thought of the chapter. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll be back with Chapter 3 soon, so consider subscribing if you want to keep updated on that and other content I'm making. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.